Hey there, welcome back to the channel. If I looked at your business right now, would I find client messages in your DMs, email threads in 3 different locations, voice notes buried in text messages, and just important details saved in your brain? That is not a communication system. That is just stress waiting to happen. So, in this series, we're breaking down the core areas of a strong tech stack, and we've covered what a tech stack is. We covered your digital foundation piece, but now today we're talking about the communication piece of your tech stack, because even the best website in the world cannot compensate for scattered conversations. And if your messages are everywhere, your mind will feel like that as well. So, let's talk about what a communication system actually is. Your communication system, it answers one simple question. Where do conversations live? Conversations between your clients, if you are on a small team, conversations between your teammates or your colleagues. And it's not just where they start, but actually where they live. So let's dive a little bit deeper. Communication, these things include client inquiries, scheduling. It talks about your internal notes, again, especially when you're working on a team, follow ups. Um, I would say audience responses, depending on what service or product that you have, and then ongoing client threads. And if you don't define this intentionally, your business will just become reactive. And reactive businesses burn people out because there's information everywhere and there's no solid one point of consolidation where you can go and find that information. And so it matters a lot more than you think. A messy communication system does 3 things. It creates anxiety. Again, just imagine if you're trying to find a correspondence from a client and you thought that it was a WhatsApp message, but it was actually a DM on Instagram. It can also make you look less professional if you cannot easily recall client information or services rendered or just finding any of that important information. The client, from the client end, it looks like you're just unorganized everywhere. And again, you probably won't have as much trust with that client. And it also causes things just to fall through the cracks, just because, again, depending on where you are in your business, if you are steadily growing and you're scaling up, you wouldn't even know what's falling through the cracks until it broke, or there was a client complaining maybe on social media and they're tagging your business. That's like the worst case scenario for me. Like, I always, that would be just the worst case scenario. Is just, it wasn't even because of deliberate intent. It was just, the great thing was your business was scaling up and you're getting more clients and getting more business. But because of the back end piece of it, you're not organized, and therefore it leads to like a meltdown of your business because of one bad review or something blowing up or going viral on social media. So all of that is anxiety inducing to me, and nothing erodes trust faster than missed details. And so when someone pays you, they hire you, or they collaborate with you, they expect you to follow through and they expect steadiness from you. And so the scattered communication, it just is really unstable. So let's talk about the 6 inbox problem. This is something that is very common. This is when you have Instagram DMs, you have LinkedIn messages, personal email, business email, text messages, and maybe even WhatsApp messages. And you're trying to remember who said what where. And that system is just not scalable. You need a primary home. Now, this doesn't mean you can't receive messages in multiple places. The thing is, you must decide, where do the important conversations move to? That is the shift. Those messages, those conversations should not stay in the same place where maybe they originated. They need to find a home. Now, let's talk about the core components of a clean communication stack. There are 3 layers to this. The first one is the intake. How do you get inquiries from your clients or your customers? How do people first reach out to you? Is that an email form? Is that a direct message or a DM? Is that a booking link, an application form? This should be something that is very simple and obvious. For me, I always try and route people to booking a call with me, because that way there's a whole system I have in the background where once someone books a call with me, it kicks off different things in the background. But that way I can keep all the information in that one email, that booking email. And so I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. But the second part of a clean communication stack is the scheduling piece. So if you're going back and forth 5 times to try and meet with a client or a customer, you are just wasting so much energy, and it's time to move into the current state of 2026 where a scheduling tool can help you remove and gain extra time into your schedule. You set your boundaries once by setting your availability, people book within that, no drama, no chaos. And for me, I use Calendly. It works. There's so many other different platforms out there. They all pretty much do the same thing. It's just a matter, like I mentioned in my prior video, before you go signing up for all these different things, really assess what you need right now within your business or your organization, and then do some research and then figure out the best tool for you. But yes, for my business, I use Calendly. All right. And then the third piece of a clean communication stack is ongoing management. Once someone becomes a client of yours, where do conversations live after that? Is that an email thread? Is that a project management tool? Is that a CRM, a customer relationship management tool? A shared document even could work. But this is where people, they'll have everything lined up, and this is the part where people trip up. And this is where the structure needs to be structured. Basically, you cannot rely on memory as a system. For me, I like using Asana. I use Asana for everything. Literally, I use Asana for my personal life, where every month, or not every, well, every month, I have a reminder that says, hey, you need to mop the floors, or hey, you need to do dusting. I have a reminder set for every Sunday to reconcile my bank statements, or to look and review my transactions. So I use it on a personal basis, but then I also use it in my nonprofit 9 to 5 work, where it's like, hey, you need to design an ad for this magazine by this date, or hey, you need to do a newsletter for the organization by this date. I plug all those things into Asana. And then even for the business side of things, knowing that, okay, at the end of the month, you know, you need to do the social media deck for a client for the following month, or you need to write a newsletter for another client by this date. I use Asana for everything. Certain clients are also pretty tech savvy, and they get in there. I'm able to basically have those conversations with them where I assign them a task, they let me know when it's completed, then that tells me to move on to the next part of the checklist or the things to do. So I really enjoy it. That's one way that I communicate. And then also, depending on if they're not so tech savvy, then it's just an email chain where we communicate that way. But I don't have communications all over the place. And typically, even if it's an email, I will then take that email, import it into Asana, and turn it into a task. So even if they're not in Asana with me, I still use it as a project tracker for myself. And then also just to save communications, just so that way if, we talked about a project earlier in the year, it's Q3 now, I can go back and go back into Asana and say, oh, I know in the beginning of the year we talked about doing some launch. Let me go back and find that. I just go into Asana and pull it up. So it is phenomenal because I don't have to rely on my brain to try and remember everything. And it goes to basically having a single source of truth. And every business needs one place where final decisions and key information lives. And again, that can be a CRM, such as like Salesforce, or a project management platform, such as Asana, or a shared client dashboard. There's things like Dubsado, what is it, Honeybook, I believe it is. There's all these different things that are out there. And then even no shade if you need it, but even just a well organized folder system. Something in Google Drive where it's based on the client and it has all the information in there, that could even work for you. But it must exist. And I would say a great test for this is if I asked you right now, where would I find the latest contract between you and a client? And if you hesitate, hesitation equals inefficiency. I know if I was asked that question, I know, oh, you would just go into the drive, go to clients, click on the client folder, and there in the client folder, there's a contracts folder, click there, and that's where you can find the contracts. I have everything organized, and that way it just eliminates the decision fatigue. But again, it's a one stop shop, and it's also just the single source of truth for anything that I need. Let's talk about energy protection because communication systems are not just about organization, they're also about energy protection. You didn't see that. I just had to move my foot for a minute there. But every time you search for a message, every time you reread an old thread or try to remember the context from a prior message, every time you miss something small, you are leaking energy. And most entrepreneurs don't realize how much mental bandwidth they're losing just to disorganization, just to that small piece. And so, clean communication systems reduce cognitive load, which means that you can think at a higher level. It is, I am sometimes guilty, especially when I'm doing design work, where I'll save a file like in the downloads folder, thinking, okay, I'll come back to it and move it later on. But maybe it might be a few weeks. And then I go back to that document. I'm like, oh my goodness, where did I save that? Thinking that I saved it in the right spot. I would waste probably about 20 minutes trying to find this document only to realize you didn't go back in and move it from the downloads folder into the client folder. So again, time is money, and time is so important, especially when you are, in the throes of a business or in a nonprofit. You have to make sure that if whenever you can alleviate any type of decision overload or decision fatigue, that you do that. And so having again that one stop shop, the single source of information is really important. So let's talk common mistakes. Number one, letting clients choose the communication channel. No, you are the professional. You set the container. You let them know. It's not like anything super explicit, but it's just a matter of, okay, on your site or whether it's social media, your website, your landing page, whatever that foundation home base is for you, you're setting the tone saying, hey, if you would like to work with me, email me. Or if you want to work with me, book a call here. You are setting the tone of how they're communicating with you. So you just have to make sure that whatever that is, you're checking in on it, you're following up on it, and you're executing on whatever the next step is. Mistake number two, mixing personal and business conversations everywhere. Boundaries are infrastructure. Similar to how you wouldn't commingle your business funds and your personal funds. You do not want to mix your business and personal things in an email, or even I would even say social media. For me, anytime something may come in, like maybe on my personal social media pages, I always ask them like, "Hey, thank you. I don't really check this one often. For business, any business things, please go to this page and do XYZ," which is usually like, "Hey, book a call with me on my website." Just so that way, again, I keep everything clean because I don't want it to mix. I try not to have my business and my personal life intersect too much. I try and keep everything in this respectful lanes. Um, yeah, so I would really, really strongly recommend that you also keep your business in one lane and your personal life in one lane. Mistake number three, avoiding a CRM because it feels so corporate. Again, when it comes to a CRM, you do not need the enterprise level software. You truly don't. But you do need to have visibility. You do need to have some kind of insight or access to the relationships you're building with your clients and your customers. So, again, if that's just a simple Google Doc, a shared Google document between you and your client where they can go in and type in information and then you go in and respond to the information, it's better than nothing. But I would say to try and make it a little bit more robust. But that is, again, up to you and your business and what you need at this moment. So let's talk about homework or your audit for this part of your tech stack. List every place that you receive messages, wherever they currently are coming in, whether that's DM, personal email, business email, WhatsApp, wherever. List all those different ways that messages come into you regarding your business. And then decide which ones are primary and maybe which ones might be a temporary thing. Again, the example that I use for me is I try and get everyone over into booking a call via email. So that's, they go to the website, they book a meeting there. That is how I take any type of inquiries coming into the business. So figuring out what that looks like, if DMs are best for you, great. Try and route everyone to Instagram to do direct messages or Facebook or wherever, and just stick with that. And then I would say create a rule for moving important conversations into one central place. Couple examples of this. So if you're trying to move your direct messages maybe into email, perhaps, so that way you have them in your email system. Or if you're looking to maybe move your emails into, say, maybe a project management system, if you're trying to be a little bit more sophisticated and robust in what data you're collecting from your clients and customers. And I would say if you want to be even more robust in what data you're collecting, maybe move from an inquiry form on your website to maybe where it's now an automated form. Like once someone submits that inquiry on your website, it automatically goes into your CRM, whether that is like a Dubsado where it basically then automatically maybe submits an email to the client again saying, hey, we got your inquiry. Here's a booking link, or here's the next step. That's another way of how you can elevate your communication stack. So just some things to think about. Those, it really just depends, again, where you are in your business and also how you operate, because it's so important that whatever you invest in, time or money wise, it's something that you're actually going to utilize. I remember that I was working with a client. She was older, and she heard about Calendly on LinkedIn. She was like, "Oh, I really want to do that. I want to be able to have people book with me online, and that way we don't have to go back and forth on email." And then when I had explained, like, well, in order to use Calendly efficiently, you have to use an electronic calendar. And so she was very paper based. She had a planner that she wrote all her appointments in, whether they were personal, doctor's appointments, or like coaching clients, things like that. And so that was her go-to for 25 plus years. That is how she managed her calendar. And so although she wanted to be on Calendly and be able to book meetings via Calendly, it ended up not working. We tried it for a few months, but it was just something she wasn't using the electronic calendar. So therefore, people would be booking on her Calendly link, and maybe she's at a doctor's appointment, or maybe she's already in a coaching call. So for her, it just didn't work. So we just had to scrap that and just like, hey, if you are paper based and that is your go to, that is fine. But just understand we have to pivot and do something else. We can't utilize this system. So again, based on what you do and how you operate in your business, and if it's truly a pain point for you, then that's something that you have to consider. So it's very, your tech stack again is really based on what you use, how you operate in your business, and it's something that's really customizable just for you. All right. So again, the goal is not complexity. Complexity is just making things simple for yourself on the back end. And just, a quick reality check for you. If you disappeared for a week, could someone else step in and understand your client conversations? If the answer is no, you just need some structure around your communications. Even if you are a one person business, especially if you are a one person business, you need that. So, communication is not just about responsiveness, it's about reliability. A clean communication system protects your energy, it builds trust with your clients and consumers, it reduces the anxiety so your business doesn't feel so heavy, and it supports the growth of your business as well. And so, in the next video, we'll be diving into some content around, we'll be diving into the content and creation systems. Because having an idea is one thing, but building a system that makes creation sustainable, that is another, because that is a real place that many business owners get stuck in because it is so much and it doesn't have to be. So that's all I have for you today. Today's affirmation is, I build systems that protect my energy and support the level of business I'm becoming. Love that. So if you got to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. My name is Monie, and on this channel, I talk about entrepreneurship, careers, travel, dating, and all the things in between that just help you build a life that that fits you and your aspirations. And so check out the channel page for more content there as far as them being organized into playlists. But if you need any assistance in this tech stack process or just anything regarding in this space or adjacent. I'm more than happy to help. I have a link in the description where you can connect with me. But I make videos every single day. So I will see you tomorrow. Bye.